She fouled out, had 6, and it was a ticky-tack fouls. And again, Caitlin Clark doing a little bit of an acting job. Not sure if that was actually a foul, but again, that's for the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier.
What's your gut feeling? Is mandatory gender testing a necessary step for women's sports or a dangerous invasion of privacy? Let me know in the comments below, because your opinion matters in this groundbreaking debate. If you think the WNBA is just about basketball, think again. A bombshell has just dropped that could shatter careers, ignite a firestorm of controversy, and fundamentally alter everything we thought we knew about women's sports forever. The WNBA just announced mandatory gender testing for all its players, a move so audacious it has Brittney Griner sweating bullets. The timing couldn't be worse for Griner, who's already battling a massive backlash from her recent, deeply controversial comments about rising superstar Caitlin Clark. This isn't merely a policy update, this is a seismic shift poised to unveil truths that many have long suspected, yet few dared to speak aloud. It's an accountability moment years in the making, and it promises to rock the foundation of women's professional basketball.
Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man. One of the videos that give us cause to say that is this video. It is from her Instagram stories from years and years ago. And when it comes to Instagram, they use a combination of like AI detection and plus manual surveyors to make sure that no explicit content ends up on the platform. So clearly whatever AI detection system was used when Brittney posted this and it stayed up for 106 weeks was not like, oh, this is a female chest, we have to take this down. Oftentimes, if breast cancer runs in a family, women will preemptively get like double mastectomies. And there are some great surgeons out there, don't get me wrong, but I don't see any scars on Brittney's chest that would be indicative of a double mastectomy or top surgery for gender transition.
For years, an uneasy, almost suffocating silence has hung over the WNBA as whispers, direct questions, and outright speculation about certain players' biological sex have circulated in hushed tones behind the scenes and then exploded across social media. Brittney Griner has, without a doubt, been at the very epicenter of these intensely personal and deeply scrutinizing discussions ever since she burst onto the scene. Her imposing physical attributes, her towering height and astonishing wingspan, a voice that often stuns listeners with its unexpected depth, and an overall appearance that many find strikingly inconsistent with typical female biology, have quietly yet persistently fueled conversations that the mainstream sports media seem too intimidated or perhaps simply unwilling to genuinely address. The questions persisted, growing louder with each dominant performance. Then, a few years ago, a piece of digital evidence surfaced that truly threw fuel on the fire, an Instagram video showing Griner shirtless. What makes this particular incident so profoundly unsettling and remarkable is that Instagram's sophisticated AI detection system, a technology rigorously designed to flag explicit content and specifically identify inappropriate female nudity, apparently failed to recognize Griner's chest as typically female. Think about that for a moment. When even advanced artificial intelligence struggles to classify an individual's apparent gender, it sends a powerful, undeniable signal that perhaps human observers too have legitimate, deeply held questions that demand comprehensive answers. Whispers of medical procedures like double mastectomies or even top surgery commonly associated with gender transition have been floated by her supporters, attempting to explain her physique. But observant critics claim to see no surgical scars that would definitively confirm such extensive procedures, only adding layer upon layer to the enduring mystery surrounding her physical form. This lack of definitive visual evidence has only intensified the public's demand for clarity.
About to get into that is really hard and really scary. You're about to be a mom. How is that feeling? Pops. Oh, let me get it together. About to be a pops. Please tell me how exciting that is for you and what you're looking forward to most.
I'm super excited. Well, I mean, I guess I'll just drop it. He's here. So he's here. Yes. 7/8/24.
This already simmering pot of speculation, simmering for years under the surface, boiled over dramatically with Griner's recent, highly publicized comments concerning Caitlin Clark. Clark, the undeniable phenom and rising superstar, is single-handedly injecting unprecedented energy, record-breaking viewership, and literally millions of new fans into women's basketball, effectively saving the WNBA from what many saw as its slow, creeping slide into irrelevance. Yet, in a now viral video, Griner appeared to dismiss Clark, going even further by seemingly using a derogatory slur against the young player who is revolutionizing the sport. That incident exposed a raw nerve, starkly revealing Griner's true feelings and seemingly ungracious attitude towards the very player transforming the league into a global phenomenon. The timing of this mandatory testing announcement, coming on the heels of such a PR nightmare for Griner, feels less like a routine administrative update and more like a direct, brutal consequence. A reality check aimed squarely at Griner as the world watches every move she makes with bated breath. It's almost as if the league is finally saying, enough is enough. So what precisely does this groundbreaking new policy entail, and why is it sending shockwaves through the entire WNBA? It reportedly requires all players to undergo comprehensive hormonal and chromosomal testing before each season begins. This is far, far removed from a simple drug test that checks for banned substances. We are talking about incredibly detailed, highly specific biological analysis, meticulously designed to determine, once and for all, whether players definitively meet the league's strict biological criteria for female competition. The results, we're told, will be reviewed by an impartial panel of independent medical experts, ensuring unbiased scrutiny and preventing any potential favoritism or influence. The stakes for every player are absolutely immense. Any individual athlete who fails to meet these rigorous biological standards will be immediately prohibited from participating in WNBA games, effectively ending their season and, for some, potentially their entire professional career. This isn't just about winning or losing games anymore. It's about defining who can even step onto the court. Predictably, the usual vocal suspects in the media and various advocacy groups have already begun to cry foul, denouncing the policy as discriminatory, deeply invasive, and even transphobic, claiming it violates fundamental human rights. Yet, the WNBA, at least in its official statements, frames this monumental shift as a vital, indeed essential step towards maintaining competitive integrity and ensuring truly fair play for all athletes who participate in women's sports. But for most casual fans with functioning eyeballs, it's widely and intuitively understood that this move is really about finally acknowledging a long-standing unspoken elephant in the room. Women's sports, at their very core, are supposed to be specifically for biological women. That isn't a controversial statement. It's a fundamental biological reality that has underpinned sports divisions for over a century. If an athlete cannot definitively prove they are a biological female, then, according to the very spirit and purpose of women's sports, they simply shouldn't be competing against biological women who have dedicated their entire lives to honing their skills on a genuinely level playing field. The public sentiment, especially as evidenced by the exploding discourse on social media, has erupted in overwhelming support for the testing, with countless voices specifically calling for Griner as it to be thoroughly investigated. It seems the public has been far ahead of the institutions on this crucial issue for years, and now, finally, the WNBA is making a belated but decisive attempt to catch up. Beyond mere subjective appearance, the most damning and frequently cited evidence for many might be Griner's athletic performance itself, particularly when rigorously compared to other WNBA players who are unquestionably biological females. The physical advantages she possesses appear undeniable, almost superhuman. Her superior reach, an unmatched explosive strength, and an overall athletic ability that far, far exceeds what one would typically expect from a biological female athlete. Even one at the elite professional level, these profound advantages have translated directly and undeniably into unparalleled professional success. Multiple championships, broken records, and numerous accolades, achievements that many speculate might not have been remotely possible if Griner had been competing strictly against biological males in a sport like men's basketball. The conversation surrounding Griner's unique background has reached unprecedented levels of intensity, with various theories emerging from every corner of the internet. Some people, in an attempt to rationalize her distinct physique, suggest Griner might be intersex, a rare condition that, while complex, could still confer significant biological advantages over typical female competitors due to variations in hormones or internal anatomy. Others have even hinted at the unsettling possibility of ongoing, undisclosed hormone therapy providing an unfair, illicit edge over her female peers. This mandatory testing policy, at long last, promises to provide definitive scientific answers to these profound and deeply personal questions, potentially lifting the veil on years of widespread anxious speculation that has plagued the league. The truth, it seems, is finally coming to light. The pressure weighing down on Brittney Griner right now must be absolutely immense, almost unbearable, as this newly implemented policy represents an existential threat to her entire glittering career and her carefully cultivated legacy. If the comprehensive testing reveals, through objective scientific data, that she doesn't meet the precise biological criteria for female competition, then everything she has ever accomplished in the WNBA, her hard-won championships, her seemingly insurmountable records, her numerous and highly publicized accolades, could be irrevocably called into question. Her entire professional identity, meticulously built over years of grueling training and public life, could be fundamentally challenged, stripped away, and viewed through an entirely new, potentially cynical lens. This intense psychological strain, the crushing burden of potential exposure, might even explain some of her recent erratic and highly controversial public behavior and statements. It's a level of scrutiny that few athletes ever experience. Other WNBA players, the vast majority of whom are undeniably biological females who have trained their entire lives to reach the highest level of their sport, are undoubtedly watching this unfolding situation with keen, almost desperate interest. If it turns out that some of their competitors have been operating with unacknowledged and unfair biological advantages, those players deserve not only clear, transparent answers, but also decisive accountability and a true level playing field going forward. The integrity of their entire sport hangs in the balance. This bold, unprecedented move by the WNBA could set a monumental, far-reaching precedent for women's sports globally. Other leagues around the world, as well as major international competitions, like the Olympics and various federations, have grappled with complex and often uncomfortable gender eligibility questions for decades, often without satisfactory resolution. If the WNBA's new policy successfully maintains competitive integrity and, crucially, earns widespread public trust and acceptance, it could very well become a universal model for how to rigorously handle these sensitive situations, ultimately protecting biological female athletes and ensuring genuine fairness and absolute transparency across all levels of competition worldwide. This isn't just a WNBA issue anymore, it's a blueprint for the future of women's athletics. For Griner, this is truly the unavoidable, defining moment of truth that millions of fans and critics alike have been waiting for with bated breath. All the years of speculation, all the lingering questions, and all the controversies that have swirled around her could finally be resolved through objective, irrefutable scientific testing. The results will either definitively vindicate her and silence her critics once and for all, or they will expose potential biological issues that have allegedly been hidden from public view for years, fundamentally altering her legacy forever. The WNBA's decision underscores a powerful, undeniable reality. Even the most progressive sports organizations must eventually confront basic biological facts. You can delay, ignore, or even attempt to redefine science and reality for a time, but ultimately, competitive integrity, fundamental fairness, and the core purpose of women's sports must take precedence over political correctness or ideological narratives. This pivotal high-stakes moment perfectly illustrates the broader cultural tensions around gender identity, competitive sports, and fundamental fairness that are playing out across society, reaching far beyond the basketball court. The financial implications of this policy could be absolutely massive, reverberating throughout the league. If testing reveals that certain high-profile players, particularly those with significant endorsements and fan bases, don't meet eligibility requirements, the league could face a cascade of lawsuits from disgruntled players, sponsor withdrawals, and a wave of fan backlash from those who feel misled. However, the long-term benefits of ensuring undeniable competitive integrity and restoring public trust probably outweigh these very real but short-term risks. This policy also sends an incredibly clear, unambiguous message about the WNBA's shifting priorities. After years of being heavily criticized for seemingly prioritizing political agendas and social narratives over the actual sport, the league is finally taking a decisive stand for competitive fairness. This pivot could help to significantly restore credibility and rebuild trust with a large segment of fans who have felt alienated and disenfranchised by previous decisions perceived as ideologically driven. The implementation timeline for this crucial testing will be, well, crucial. If the league moves too quickly, they might face a barrage of legal challenges that could significantly delay or even entirely derail the entire process. But if they move too slowly, critics might accuse them of deliberately giving certain players ample time to prepare, manipulate, or challenge the policy through other means. The independent medical review process itself will be particularly important to ensure widespread acceptance. The WNBA will need to guarantee that the testing is conducted by truly qualified, unassailable professionals who cannot be accused of any bias or favoritism whatsoever. The absolute credibility of the results will depend entirely on the unquestionable integrity of this testing process. For dedicated fans of women's basketball, this policy represents a long overdue, deeply desired step toward ensuring truly fair and legitimate competition. The sport boasts incredible athletes who deserve a level playing field unequivocally, without constant questions about their opponent's biological advantages undermining the fundamental integrity of the game they love. The precedent this sets for other sports leagues, both domestically and internationally, could be profoundly significant if the WNBA successfully implements mandatory gender testing in a transparent and effective manner. Other leagues and athletic organizations might and likely will follow suit. This could lead to broader, systemic changes in how women's sports handle gender eligibility questions across all levels of competition, from amateur to professional, creating a more consistent and fair global standard. The scientific aspects of the testing itself will be fascinating to follow. Modern medical technology can provide incredibly detailed and precise information about an individual's biological sex, their hormonal levels, and their specific genetic makeup. The results, when interpreted correctly, should ideally leave absolutely no room for speculation, doubt, or debate about player eligibility, providing definitive answers that satisfy objective scrutiny. The public relations battle surrounding this policy will be nothing short of intense. Advocates on both sides of this highly contentious issue will tirelessly try to frame the narrative in ways that exclusively support their positions, engaging in a fierce war of words and images. But ultimately, the undeniable facts revealed by the objective scientific testing will, in the long run, speak far louder and carry more weight than any amount of media spin, political advocacy, or emotional campaigns. For Brittney Griner specifically, this represents the ultimate moment of truth, the culminating point that many people have been waiting for, some with anticipation, others with trepidation. All the years of speculation, all the lingering questions, and all the controversies that have defined a significant portion of her public career could finally be resolved through objective, undeniable scientific testing. The results will either definitively vindicate her, proving her critics wrong and solidifying her place, or they will expose potential biological issues that have allegedly been hidden from public view for years, fundamentally altering her legacy forever and causing an unprecedented shakeup in women's sports. The WNBA's courageous decision to implement this policy, despite the inevitable backlash, clearly shows that even the most progressive sports organizations eventually have to deal with cold, hard biological reality. You can ignore science and fundamental facts for a while, perhaps even for years, attempting to legislate reality, but eventually competitive integrity and the core purpose of a sport designed for a specific biological group become more important, more pressing than political correctness or ideological narratives. This high-stakes situation perfectly illustrates the broader cultural tensions around gender identity, competitive sports, and fundamental fairness that are currently playing out across society on a global scale. The WNBA is not just a basketball league. It is now a crucial battlefield in a larger societal war over whether biological reality still matters in competitive athletics. The outcome of this policy implementation will have implications far beyond women's basketball, influencing how other sports leagues, educational institutions, and athletic organizations handle similar situations and debates in the future. The WNBA's mandatory gender testing policy has Brittney Griner squarely in the hot seat, and the results could irrevocably change everything we thought we knew about women's basketball, its players, and its future. This is the accountability moment that has been years in the making, and the world is watching. Hit that like button and subscribe for more explosive sports coverage.